In League of Legends, there are many champions who thrive in low elo but suck in high elo and vice versa. So every now and then, we like to hit you guys with the best champions for every elo video, and this will be the first one for Season 16. In this video, we'll be covering 5 of the best champions for 3 different elo brackets. Everyone can debate as to what ranks low elo and high elo are made up of, but for the sake of this video, this is how we'll format it. Low elo is going to consist of the ranks from iron to gold. Mid elo will be made up of plat and emerald, and then high elo will consist of diamond and above. We like grouping the ranks together like this because we find that champion performance is pretty consistent within the ranks of each elo bracket. And remember, our videos will always show you the most broken champions in the meta, but knowing what's broken doesn't mean you know how to abuse it, which is exactly why countless players love our live challenger commentaries. Every single week, our challenger experts upload full live games, walking you through exactly how to carry in your own ranked games. From how to win trades in lane to making the right macro calls mid-game, and how to dominate team fights, breaking down every key decision they make in real time to make sure you know exactly how to play every stage of the game step by step. And if you still have questions, our coaches are, let's just say, compelled to answer them. And that's only the start, as we've updated our Season 16 Essentials courses for every role, breaking down how to play every stage of the game into easy to digest chapters, giving you all the tips, tricks, and strategies you need to climb this season, guaranteed. As if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service, then you get every penny back. So what's there to lose? Get your exclusive one-time discount by clicking the link in the pinned comment or description below and start your climb today. So starting off the video with our low elo selection for top lane, he just got some buffs that has made him the unanimous most OP low elo pick, as we've got Garen. The thing about Garen is that he's almost always a great low elo top laner, to where it feels like a bit of a cop-out to recommend him, but he's just that good right now that we have to include him. After his buffs, Garen is sitting at the highest win rate in the lower elos while also holding the highest play rate, so there's quite literally no other top lane champ that is performing on the same level as him. The reason Garen works so well for the lower elos is because the way in which he looks to initiate fights and kill targets is pretty linear but very powerful at the same time. There's no intricate combos that go into bursting out a squishy target with Garen, as you're looking to run at them with Q, use E to drop them low on health, and then finish with R for the execute. This combo is so deadly if you get ahead with Garen, as he basically turns into an assassin like Bruiser. The only thing that takes a bit more skill on Garen is actually activating your W at the correct time in fights. A lot of Garen players will just activate W as soon as they go in, but if you're flashing on a squishy target and can burst them out in an instant, there's no reason to use W if nobody else is hitting you. The best build for Garen is going to consist of a Stridebreaker Rush into Phantom Dancer second, and then Spear of Shojin third, while Conqueror is the best Keystone rune. An absolutely phenomenal jungler for the lower elos right now that we highly recommend is Dr. Mundo. Mundo makes our list for a few reasons. The first one being that he's super simple to play, so it doesn't take a whole lot of games to get used to him. Second is that he scales like a monster, so with low elo games lasting longer on average, you're getting better value out of Mundo in the lower ranks. And then third is that he's a champ that gets super durable, but can still output a mass amount of damage. These champs like Garen and Mundo, who can pump out lots of damage while still being tanky at the same time, are amazing for the lower ranks. It makes them way more forgiving than the average champion, as you don't have to play perfectly in fights to succeed with them. And without question, the biggest cheat code to make your way out of low elo the fastest as a jungler is by improving your clear speed. The average Mundo in low elo clears their jungle in 2 minutes and 44 seconds, but with the optimal clear, you can get that down to 2 minutes and 33 seconds. It's exactly why we enlist the help of world record holding junglers to teach you the quickest, most cutting edge clears and routes before they ever go viral. Every walkthrough contains detailed step-by-step breakdowns, including must-know tricks, the exact damage thresholds you need to leash camps together, and all the small details you need to shave serious time off your jungle clears. So check them out today using the special one-time discount code in the description or pinned comment below. For Mundo's build in Season 16, you want to rush Heartsteel, go into Deadman's Plate second, and then Spirit Visage or Thornmail third, while Fleet Footwork will be your Keystone rune. The only mid lane champ that you need to climb out of the lower elos for Season 16 is Malzahar. Malzahar is such a powerful champ for the lower ranks because he has a simple game plan that you can follow. No matter the matchup, you're just looking to farm up to your Lost Chapter buy as quick as possible, and then once you have that completed, you can begin hard shoving waves. Prior to Lost Chapter is where you're more vulnerable, so you will have to get used to being rather useless before then, and accept the fact that you'll have to give up a few CS from time to time in order for you to not lose your entire health bar. Lost Chapter and then hitting your level 6 is where you get to start playing the game with Malz, and something you should always be focused on is playing with your jungler. Making plays on the side of the map your jungler is on, because with Malz R, if you can catch an enemy out and your jungler is there to follow up, then you've got a very free kill most of the time. As you get later on in the game, the threat of a Malz R is always going to be super powerful for team fights. In low elo, we see so much of Yasuo and Yone being played, and those champs need to dive in to be effective. So if they don't build a QSS, you're just ulting them in every fight and making them completely useless. Yasuo is Malzahar's most common matchup in low elo right now, and Malz has a 55% win rate against him. The optimal build for Malzahar revolves around a Blackfire Torch Rush into Rylai's second and Liandry's third, while Comet is the best Keystone rune. So this video is all about the best champions in each role for each elo bracket, and as much as we'd like to recommend a traditional ADC for bot lane right now, it's just fact that mages are so much easier to win with from the bot lane role. Brand is going to be our recommendation for ADC, or we should really be calling him an APC. It's actually completely ludicrous as to how much Brand has been winning as a bot lane carry in recent patches. This level of winning is just unheard of, as the champ has been up above a 55% win rate in silver. And this isn't just a one-time thing across a single patch either. It's been like this for the entirety of Season 16. Now, your first point of concern when considering Brand might be that he's more skill shot reliant, so shouldn't that mean he's a weaker low elo pick? This really isn't an issue at all for a few reasons. First is that during the laning phase, a lot of your poke is going to come from your E, which is a point and click spell. Bouncing your E off minions and hitting the enemy ADC with the splash damage is super foolproof. This alone can give you such a free health advantage early on to where you can just spam shove with W and hem the enemy under tower. W poke isn't that hard to land in lane either, as long as you're only using it when the enemy ADC is going for a last hit. This is where most low elo players in general mess up when trying to hit skill shots in lane. The enemy ADC is forced into a fixed position when they go to last hit a minion, so if you use your skill shot then, it drastically increases your hit rate. And then lastly, Brand is not that difficult at all, because once you get your Rylai's completed, which is the item you rush, all of your abilities slow the enemy, so if you lead with your E or R, then it makes lining up W and Q super easy. Rylai's into Liandry's is the core you should be taking in every single game, as you're basically full build when you have this core and become a massive teamfight threat. This is why Brand is so good for low elo, because his teamfight is insane, and he doesn't need more than 2 items to be effective, so it doesn't even matter if you fall behind in lane with Brand, he's still going to be incredibly useful in fights. And then for our low elo support pick, it's going to be another mage, as we've got Zyra. So playing mages in the carry role and the support role are both great ways to climb out of low elo the fastest. The most annoying thing about playing support in the lower ranks is that you'll get paired with ADCs who you simply cannot rely on to be impactful, even if you are keeping them alive or making the right engages. So to completely eliminate the reliance of your ADC, picking a mage like Zyra who can do it all herself makes playing support way more enjoyable and significantly easier to climb from. Once you get level 6 with Zyra, your all-in combo is going to massively chunk a Squishy's health bar, so often all your ADC will have to do is follow up with a single auto attack and you've got yourself a kill. It's not like Zyra doesn't have the ability to peel for her ADC and enable them if they do get fed though. Zyra's R provides one of the best disengage tools in the game, so if your ADC is strong and they get dove on in fights, then it's super simple for you to peel for your ADC with your R. So it's the best of both worlds with Zyra. You can be the sole carry for your team in some games, and then other games you can enable your ADC to do the heavy lifting, and this just makes her a really versatile pick. The build you should be running on Zyra consists of a Liandry's Rush into Rylai's second, while Realm Spike is the item upgrade, and then Comet is the most optimal Keystone rune. So moving on over to our mid-elo bracket selections, which consist of the ranks Plat and Emerald. First up for top lane is going to be Ornn. Ornn is a great pick across all elos right now, but we like him slotted into the mid-elo bracket for a few different reasons. First is that Ornn isn't the easiest mechanical tank in the game. It takes more skill to play Ornn than the majority of tanks if you want to reach his potential, so he's a bit less intriguing as a low elo pick. Once you get up to Plat and Emerald though, your general mechanical skill as a league player should be pretty decent to where picking up Ornn is worthwhile. And then as a pure high elo pick, we don't like Ornn as much just because counter matchups matter more and games don't last as long, so you're not getting as much value out of Ornn's passive compared to playing him in the mid elo ranks. Where Ornn will become super impactful for you is once you get used to using his full burst combo and actually picking up solo kills at level 6 consistently. With Ornn's full combo, he can chunk an enemy Squishy's health bar extremely hard, so he's not just a CC tank. Watching some Ornn guides and studying up on all of his combos is something we'd highly recommend, as he's not as straightforward as our low elo recommendation in Garen. Once you put the time into Ornn, he becomes a super consistently powerful solo queue champ because you'll always be able to find ways to impact games, whether that be through solo killing your opponent, finding a massive pick with R in the mid game, or just being that frontline disruptor for you in team fights. Ornn is in no way one-dimensional. An interesting new build that has popped up on Ornn lately and is winning at a really high rate consists of rushing Protoplasm Harness into Jaksho second and Zeke's Convergence third. Next up for our mid-elo jungle selection, we've got Briar. Briar is a very solid low elo pick too, so we could have had her either as the mid or low elo selection. She's not quite as good for the higher elos though, because the way you play fights with Briar is pretty one-dimensional, so good players have an easier time countering her. In Plat and Emerald is where Briar fits in really well, because she's got a bit of a higher learning curve than someone like Mundo, but isn't overly difficult to where a player in Plat or Emerald won't be able to pilot her optimally. The biggest mistake that many Briar players make regardless of elo is fishing for cross-map R plays. Even though Briar R is a semi-global spell, that doesn't mean you should be using it at max range. You really need to maximize your R hit rate early on with Briar, and you're going to do this most effectively by playing for lane ganks. Run up into stand behind your teammate's tower and try to throw your R when the enemy is locked onto farming a minion. If your teammates have some sort of CC engage tool, then you can spam ping them to go in and follow with your R after the enemy is CC'd to guarantee that it lands. The standard core build for Briar consists of a Blade of the Ruin King rush into Black Cleaver second and Endless Hunger third, while Press the Attack is the best keystone rune. The perfect mid lane champ for the mid elo bracket that you should be spamming right now if you're Plat or Emerald is Ahri. Ahri is such a good champion to climb through this elo bracket because you're at an elo where you should be able to pilot her mechanically, while the playmaking potential she has allows you to carry through good macro play. Ahri is such a rewarding champion if you can set up around an objective and pick enemies off as they try to walk in for vision. She's such a low risk, high reward champ in the sense that sitting in the fog of war and looking for charms doesn't put you in any sort of danger, because even if the enemy team tries to collapse on you, you've got the mobility from R to reposition. In the mid game, shoving out side lanes and then looking for flank plays towards mid whenever your R is available should be the standard game plan with Ahri. The champ is pretty weak without her R, so whenever it's down, you generally want to focus on collecting farm and just don't force fights by yourself. When R comes back up though, you need to flip that switch immediately and be alert for potential plays that you can make. Don't be afraid to limit test with Ahri when you first pick her up. You're going to look a bit boosted from time to time as you dive in and completely whiff your charm, but once you get enough games on Ahri, you can consistently land your charm as you dive in. Her carry potential becomes incredible. Like we mentioned earlier, playing in Fog of War and setting up around objectives before they spawn is the best way to turn Ahri's charm into a point and click spell, because if the enemy team has to walk into you and they don't have vision on you in a bush, then it's going to drastically increase your charm hit rate. The core build for Ahri is going to consist of a Malignance rush into Shadow Flame second and Rabadon's third, while Electrocute is the optimal keystone rune. Moving on to our mid-elo ADC selection, it's going to be Jinx. Jinx has been one of the most consistently powerful ADCs for the past year now, so there's lots of value to having her in your champion pool if you're Plat or Emerald. To find the most amount of success on Jinx, you do need somewhat decent mechanical skill, so we like her better slotted into the mid-elo bracket than for low elo. What makes Jinx so great is that she's extremely versatile in the sense that you can pair her up with any archetype of support, and she can complement whoever really well. If you got a melee engage support, then the chain CC potential is amazing with Jinx's E, and you can find a bunch of early kills in lane, but if you're with an enchanter support, then that bodes incredibly well for team fights, as Jinx loves having a protector by her side, so she can go berserk with passive procs. The stats back up this notion as well, with Jinx winning up above 52% of the time when paired with Thresh, Nami, Braum, Melio, Sona, and Lulu, so there really isn't a support in meta that she doesn't play well with. Jinx is even better right now too because of the new Hex Optics build that the majority of players are still sleeping on. Hex Optics as a rush item is winning 2% more than anything else on Jinx, so look to try out the core of a Hex Optics rush into Phantom Dancer second and Infinity Edge third. Once you get into the mid-elo bracket for support, it becomes a lot more rewarding to play an Enchanter, as you can rely on your ADC to be semi-competent at this point. An Enchanter who has remained incredibly powerful for many months now, and a great add to your champion pool if you're Plat or Emerald, is Nami. We really like Nami for this elo bracket because once you get enough games in and understand Nami's limits, your ability to single-handedly take over a lane as early as level 1 gives her incredible impact. Nami's W is one of the best level 1 spells in the game because not only can it deal damage, but it heals as well. So looking for level 1 trades on the enemy ADC when they are trying to last hit minions is a sure way for you to generate a health advantage and always get your lane off on the right foot. If you're able to generate the health advantage and push for level 2, then it opens up so many windows of opportunity for you without your ADC even having to do anything. That's the really nice thing about Nami. She can actually do a lot in lane without relying on her ADC. But if her ADC is good, then the lane potential becomes absolutely disgusting. Nami is one of the few supports where you really feel her item spikes, with Imperial Mandate being a huge spike in damage for you and your ADC. Mandate with Echoes of Helia is a really underrated build for Nami this season because Helia was changed so that it now charges its heal based on how much damage you deal, and since Mandate allows you to deal more damage, it in turn bolsters the Helia heal. League's newest champion is absolutely thriving in the higher elos right now, and kicking off our picks for this elo bracket is Zehen. So analytically, Zehen struggles a bit more in the lower elos, sitting at around a 49% win rate, but in Diamond and above right now, he's up around 51%. Zehen is a champion to where if he's played to his limits, he becomes an absolute terror. In order for you to maximize Zehen's potential though, you do need more game knowledge than the average top lane champ. Zehen thrives on diving into the middle of fights as you're able to stack your passive faster when hitting multiple targets. The thing is though, understanding when you should dive headfirst into a fight and when you should be playing a bit more reserved doesn't come super easy. It's not like Malphite where you see a Fed carry and you press R and that's usually the most optimal play. With Zehen, if you dive in at the wrong time and you get CC'd or the enemy just dashes away from you, then you're not going to get your passive stacks and will be completely useless. Being crafty in how you stack your passive and being able to get that passive fully stacked in skirmishes is a skill that when mastered makes the champ so devastating, so we really like him for this high elo bracket. The standard core build for Zehen revolves around a Trinity Force rush into Sundered Sky second, while Death's Dance and Endless Hunger are great third item options. A jungler who's really strong no matter the elo right right now, but who can excel to even greater heights in high elo is Shen. Shen jungle has been on the rise over the past patch, and we really like the champ for high elo because if you can focus one lane and get them ahead, keeping that lane ahead and snowballing the game out of control is so easy. For instance, if your bot lane gets a few early kills, then all you have to do for the rest of lane after you get your level 6 is prioritize your R for bot and allow them to continue cooking. The enemy jungler can never gank bot if your bot lane is winning because they know you will be able to counter with R, so when you pick Shen, you basically allow whichever lane who gets ahead to continue relentlessly pressuring as if they are always playing with a man-up advantage. Of course, in low elo, you can't really rely on your teammates to actually carry if you get them ahead, so this is why we like Shen a bit more for the high elo bracket, where as long as you enable your fed teammates to carry by pressing R on them and peeling for them in fights, then that's often all you need to do. The best build for Shen jungle revolves around a Protoplasm Harness Rush into Unending Despair 2nd and Abyssal Mask 3rd. Shen's rune setup is super unique in the sense that he takes Guardian for the Keystone rune, which we really don't see on junglers at all, but it works great on Shen because it just amplifies his skirmish whenever he uses R and gives his teammate an even bigger shield. One of the best mid lane champions for the higher elos in Season 16 is Twisted Fate. Gunblade Twisted Fate in specific is extremely powerful, yet still quite underrated, as it's something Dopa has been playing this season to great success. You just deal so much more damage with Gunblade as opposed to the P-Shooter setup with Rod of Ages, so you actually feel like a significant damage threat instead of a stun bot. Rod can still be good if the enemy team is a heavy assassin comp since the durability will be useful, but Gunblade into lower mobility enemy comps is really powerful. Build aside, Twisted Fate works way better for the high elos where your game knowledge is solid and you can play the side lane optimally. If you're not leveraging the side lane with TF, then you're not getting the most out of him, so understanding how to play mid-game macro is really key to winning with the champ. Your goal with Twisted Fate in the mid-game should be to get the side lane shoved out, and then while the enemy is forced to collect the wave, look for a port mid with your R. TF is all about playing to numbers advantages, as you should really never be taking your straight up 5v5 with the champ, as his raw teamfight power is lacking compared to most other mages. This is why in low elo, just playing a good teamfight mid like Malzahar is way more consistent, because there's just less you gotta think about, as grouping up and hitting Mal's R takes a lot less thinking than how you gotta execute with Twisted Fate. Always a great ADC for the higher elos, but with even more incentive to pick him up after recent changes is Draven. Draven just works infinitely better when he has a support who will play for the level 2 spike in lane and who will be able to identify windows of opportunity. If you're really good at Draven, then in specific matchups you won't need your support to do a whole lot, but playing with a good support makes life so much easier for Draven, which is one reason why he's way better for high elo. Games are also shorter in high elo, which Draven likes because he doesn't scale as well into late game teamfights as someone like Jinx or Twitch, so playing with players who better know how to close out games is where Draven thrives the most. Draven has been loving the past few patches with buffs to Hubris and Hexoptic C44 indirectly benefiting him. Hubris Draven players are absolutely taking over right now, as the item being 200 gold cheaper has made it the more attractive purchase over Bloodthirster in a lot of situations. If you get that early kill in lane and will be able to press the advantage, then going towards Hubris Rush is really powerful now. In a lane where it's a bit more of a stalemate, or if you are laning into a pokey bot lane duo where the sustain from Bloodthirster is valuable, then it's definitely still an option to consider. Regardless of what item you rush, Hexoptic C44 as Draven's second item is outperforming everything else. The Collector is looking like a super bait item on Draven right now, as Hexoptic's getting buffed 2 patches in a row has added so much power to the item. And then to round out the high elo picks, our support selection is going to be Bard. So Bard has been one of the best performing supports in ranks Diamond and above for this season. Bard is always going to be more of a high elo skewed champ because of the decision making that goes into playing an optimal Bard. Understanding when to roam and using your R in ways that don't hurt your team in skirmishes are two things that make Bard a harder champion to pick up. A lot of Bard players will over roam a bunch and completely abandon their ADC even when they have the winning lane, so if you end up getting a few kills early on, then don't just leave your ADC to go roam because of the fact you're playing Bard. The worst thing you could do is get a few kills bot lane and then go and roam for your 0-3 top laner to try and get them back in the game. Simply put, just play to whichever lane is winning, and if that lane happens to be bot lane, then just stay instead of trying to force plays around losing lanes. Bard has one of the best all-in tools in the game with his R, so if you have the item or level advantage, then continue pressuring your own lane. Of course, where deciding to roam gets more tricky are in game states that are even, and there isn't a clear win condition for you to play off of, but that's where your general game knowledge comes into play and is why Bard works best for the higher elos. The core build for Bard consists of Deadman's Plate and Liandry's, while Bloodsong is the item upgrade, and then you'll take Electrocute for the Keystone rune. Alright guys, one last thing, our rank up guarantee is insane. It's like signing up for the gym and getting a refund if you don't get ripped. That's how confident we are in SkillCapped. We obsess over making the best guides with top players, rigorous testing, and top tier video editing to make your climb easy. If you're ready to level up, visit SkillCapped.com and see the difference. So there you have it everyone, those are currently 5 of the best champions that you can play for each elo bracket. Thank you all so much for watching, we'll see you in the next one.